everyone, welcome to Litrophile. Today we are going to get ourselves familiarized with a specific phrase, which is objective correlative. Now, most of us associate this phrase with T.S. Eliot. Now, who is T.S. Eliot? He's considered the chief representative of modernism, and he has written quite a many critical essays. Now, this often this phrase is associated with T.S. Eliot because it was popularized by T.S. Eliot in one of his essays. All the same, this was first used by an American painter of the name Washington Allston. All right. The American painter named Washington Allston is assumed to have first introduced the phrase objective correlative, but it was reintroduced and popularized by T.S. Eliot in one of his very famous essays, which was probably written in the year 1919. It was a critical reading of the play Hamlet by Shakespeare. The title of the essay is Hamlet and His Problems. Hamlet and His Problems. That's the title of the essay, and it was written in the year 1919, although it was published in a collection of critical essays by T.S. Eliot called The Sacred Wood in the year 1920. All right. Now, The Sacred Wood is a collection of critical essays, and it is a very prominent text when it comes to the theory of new criticism. Now, let us look at how T.S. Eliot himself defines this concept objective correlative. So, this is how he defines objective correlative. Objective correlative is a set of objects, a situation, a chain of events, which shall be the formula of that particular emotion, such that when the external facts which must terminate in sensory experience are given, the emotion is immediately evoked. Now, the definition itself might sound a little bit confusing, but all the same, to our rescue comes T.S. Eliot himself with the example of Lady Macbeth. Now, Lady Macbeth is a very popular figure when it comes to literature. So, we know who Lady Macbeth is, and Lady Macbeth, you find in that specific play by Shakespeare, the play called Macbeth by Shakespeare, you have a scene where Lady Macbeth specifically, she tries to wash her hands again. She desperately tries to wash her hands. And the reason she does so is because she believes that she actually sees her hands drenched in the blood of the victim, specifically King Duncan. So because of the psychological trauma and the psychological desperation that is within her, that is eating her from within, she finds that blood on her hands even after washing her hands several times. So the psychological trauma and the psychological desperation and the overriding guilt that eats Lady Macbeth from within is impeccably manifested or projected onto her desperately washing her hands. So that particular situation or that particular event triggers within the viewer or the spectator a similar feeling of desperation or trauma or guilt. So you find that through the washing of hands by Lady Macbeth, the emotion or the guilt that is generated within the character is directly transported to or equally generated within the spectator or the viewer. Now, according to T.S. Eliot, this doesn't happen in Hamlet. Okay, so T.S. Eliot feels that there is no such object or event or situation that is there in Hamlet which would enable us to understand the problems or the emotions that are there within the character. Therefore, T.S. Eliot goes a step further and he makes a daring move to call Hamlet an artistic failure. Now, why does he call Hamlet an artistic failure? Because Hamlet as a play does not contain objective correlative. So, it's because of the absence of objective correlative, Hamlet is undermined as an artistic failure. So, a quick recap. The phrase that we were looking into today is objective correlative, and though it is often associated with T.S. Eliot, it was first introduced by an American painter of the name Washington Allston, and it was reintroduced and popularized by T.S. Eliot in his essay Hamlet and His Problems, which was written in 1919 and published in the collection of essays called The Sacred Wood in the year 1920. And we know that by definition, objective correlative simply means it's a series of objects, situation, or a chain of events which will become the formula of a particular emotion to be triggered within both the character as well as the spectator in the same proportion. All right, in the same proportion. And to give an example of objective correlative, he makes use of the literary figure Lady Macbeth, and of course, due to the lack of objective correlative, he undermines the play Hamlet by Shakespeare as an artistic failure. So that's all for today. In my next video, I'll come back to you with yet another phrase or yet another term that is popular in literature. Thank you and have a nice day.